Hi, I'm Rachel in Portland, Oregon, and once again, our president is all the news all the time, but so many other things are happening as well, and I wonder what impact all of this and the chaos right now and the spreading of the disease, what impact that will have on the Supreme Court nomination.
It's Wednesday, October 21st, just 13 days from the election. And like Rudy Giuliani with a laptop, we're taking matters into our own hands. Today is Pennsylvania Day on Vote for America, and we'll be talking with former U.S. Representative Charlie Dent. Own the Room's Adam Tracey, and an RVAT voter who is all in for Joe. And now our host, Lincoln Project co-founder Jennifer Horn.
And welcome to Vote for America on LPTV. I'm so glad that you're with us today. Like Rudy Giuliani with a laptop. I cracked me up. We're ramping things up here between now and Election Day. We'll be here every day for 5 days a week from now until Election Day, and at our new time, which is 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. As you can see, we're in our fancy new studio. We're having a lot of fun here, but we also want to reassure you that we're being safe as well. Everybody in the studio, everyone on the team wears a mask unless they're sitting here at this table doing the show. I always have my mask with me so that when I step away, I can have it and be safe, and we don't put anyone in danger as we're going through things here. I hope you're all being safe and careful as well and wearing masks when you're out in the public and interacting with folks as well. So we have a great show for you today. I'm really excited about it. But first, we want to share some important voter information with you. As we do every day, we want to make sure you know there's some registration deadlines coming up because, of course, if you are not registered, you cannot vote. In the great state of Utah, your voter registration deadline is October 23rd, which I believe is today. Iowa, the October 24th, Massachusetts, October 24th. If you're not registered, you can't vote. You can go to, the 24th is Friday. I beg your pardon. So if you're not registered, you can't vote. Please you can go to vote.org and find out if you're registered or not. We also have some voting voting starting up. Some states are opening up their voting this week as well. And we want to make sure that you have that information. If you're in West Virginia, you can start voting as of the 21st. New York as of the 24th, which, as we just established, is Friday. So always happy to be able to bring you information. My apologies when I just get it wrong a little bit. Also always happy to welcome my co-host to the show. She's a founder of the Marin Group and the Lincoln Project's resident independent voter, Lisa Senecal. Hey, Lisa, how are you today?
I am very well, and I think a lot of us are having a difficult time at this point keeping track of what day it is. You are not alone.
Oh my gosh. Well, and for whatever reason, this week in particular has been not, I don't know if it's Tuesday or Thursday or what day it is, but that's why we put those dates up on the screen so that our viewers can see them and keep track. So, Lisa, there's so much going on in the world today. It seems like every day we wake up and there's 16 new pressing stories that we're learning about. What are you thinking about today?
Yeah, I look forward to the day when I'm not afraid to look at my cell phone when I wake up and see what has broken overnight. But last night, the story did come out that there are more than 500, about 545 children who were separated from their parents more than 2.5 years ago because of Trump's family separation policy at the border. It's now been determined that their parents can't be located. They are not going to be ever rejoining their families, which is an unimaginable tragedy and cruelty. Almost 60 of those kids, when they were separated from their parents, were under 5 years old. And just a few minutes ago, the Trump White House responded to this story breaking, and because they're incapable of not putting cruelty on top of cruelty, their response is that it's not really that the parents couldn't be found. It was that a lot of the parents didn't want their children back. So it's not bad enough to have your children stolen from you, but now you have the president of the United States saying you didn't even want your kids. It's just, I wish it was unimaginable, but with this administration, it's not.
It's horrific. And as a parent, first of all, it was thousands of children who were separated from their families under that zero tolerance policy that the president implemented. It's the 545 now who will probably permanently be separated from their parents for the rest of their lives. And there is something about this president where the cruelty that he inflicts on people just goes above him. somehow doesn't touch him. And when I read this story, when you sent the link this morning, I read this story. It made me think about when my oldest son was about 18 months old or 2 years old. He got the chicken pox, and then his chicken pox became infected. Or he got the chicken pox. He had a terrible fever we couldn't get down. We brought him to the emergency room. In the emergency room, his chicken pox became infected, and my son at 18 months old became critically ill, and he had to be hospitalized for several days because of it. And I remember in that moment, the nurse at the emergency room saying to me, "We're going to admit him. You and your husband go home. You come back in the morning and see him." And there was no way that I was going home and leaving him there and coming back to see him the next day. So when I think about the parents who are affected by this, to hear the president of the United States try to tell the world they just don't want their children, it is such a cruel and, to my friends out there who keep trying to tell me that this president is pro-life, he is not. This is just another example of that. He has no care or value for life, for families, for those deepest things that connect us as human beings. This is a horrible story. This is a horrible story, and I hope it gets a lot more attention than it has so far.
I hope so too.
Okay, I'm sorry, Lisa. I was waiting for you to throw to the next guest, but that's my job, isn't it? so I appreciate that. I genuinely appreciate that you brought that story forward today. I think these are exactly the kinds of things that we need to be talking about, especially as we are approaching this election. So,
Yeah, we can't
Lisa, our
forget the
next
children.
guest is one that I'm really exactly, and I'm really happy to have our next guest with us today. He's somebody that we've been wanting to talk to since we started this show. He served in the U.S. House of Representatives for Pennsylvania's District 15 from 2005 to 2018. He is a Republican who has earned a tremendous amount of respect over the years for doing what he thinks is right, regardless of the partisanship. We're very happy to welcome former Congressman Charlie Dent. Hey, Charlie, how are you today?
I'm just great. Thank you, Jennifer, for having me on the program. Great to be with you.
I'm really happy to have you here. I think that yours is an important voice, especially today as we're trying to focus a little bit on the great state of Pennsylvania. But let's jump right into the big money question, Charlie. You and I are both Republicans. We both share the same values. We care about things. But you have really developed a reputation over the years for standing up with your party when you know they're right, but also speaking up when you think that they're wrong. You have decided you're not going to support the Republican candidate for president in this cycle. Can you share with our listeners a little bit why?
Yeah, sure, Jennifer. I did not vote for Donald Trump in 2016. In fact, I wrote in Evan McMullen because I thought he was the best Republican candidate running. So I wrote him in my state. And the reason I'm not supporting President Trump is because it just seems like, we never can quite hit rock bottom. Every time you think it's about to get worse, it does. And it just seems to be no end in sight. But it's just as you discussed in the previous segment with Lisa, the wanton cruelty, the glorification of ignorance, the disparagement of allies, the embrace of authoritarian leaders, and the list just goes on and on. His inability, what prompted me to make the announcement when I did. I did it during the week of the Democratic Convention, but it was just a few days before that. You may remember, at that time the president had more or less endorsed a Georgia QAnon candidate. I mean, these are conspiracy theorists. These people are denying that 9/11 actually happened. And there was a time 10 years ago, if somebody had if a 9/11 truther had reared their head within the Republican Party, they would have been drummed out. And now they're congressional candidates, and this one's going to actually probably win, and welcomed into the fold. I just don't recognize this anymore. And so there are a whole host of reasons why I'm not supporting the president. But it's not just his personal characteristics or qualities that have turned me off. It's also some of the policies. I'm sorry, but this type of naked protectionism, this isolationism, this nativism, this unilateralism, and at times nihilism are just simply not not in any way qualities or virtues that should ever be celebrated by the Republican Party or any party for that matter.
Well, I'm happy to hear you say that because so often, you and I hear from fellow Republicans that, oh, I don't like the president's tone. I don't like how he tweets. He's a little aggressive when the way he speaks. But that's not what this is about. It's not about that we just don't like his style. It's
Yeah.
his actual behavior, and to your point, his policies. And I like what you said about the QAnon candidate. We know there are several Republican candidates on the ballot this fall who have openly embraced QAnon conspiracies and how the danger that comes with them. I can't wrap my head around why will the Republican Party not reject these people? I mean, we're not even in that case. You're not even saying please reject the president. Just reject these candidates that embrace this openly dangerous ideology. What's happening? It's not just the president. What's happening to the party?
Great question. I mean, remember, it wasn't that long ago where House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy more or less threw Congressman Stephen King under the bus because of some of the very racially incendiary comments he had made at that time and over a period of time. And so they did the right thing. They distanced themselves. They rejected Representative King, just as they should do this QAnon candidate down in Georgia. I mean, how hard is it to simply go up there and say, we're not going to welcome you into the conference. We're not going to give you any committee assignments, and we're going to be working with the Georgia GOP to defeat you in the primary. Enjoy your time in Congress. I mean, that's how you deal with somebody like that. That's how it should be dealt with. But I guess another issue too, Jennifer, I said, people say, well, why are you endorsing Biden? And I said, look, this isn't about, this election is, to me, it's not about right or left. It's about right or wrong. It's about normal versus abnormal, stability versus instability, security versus insecurity. These are the issues that I think I'm most concerned about. Like there are policy issues with which I disagree with the president on. There's some with which I agree with him on. But again, in many respects, it's not just about, while policy is important, there are other things that are also driving our votes too. Again, it's the wanton cruelty. It's the glorification and celebration of ignorance, the nativism, the protection. There's so many things to dislike, and the never-ending chaos and drama and anarchy that should be offensive to what I'll call small C conservatives. And we believe in order, stability, discipline, measured statements, incremental change, not disorder, chaos, instability, and mayhem. Right.
So it's interesting to me, Congressman. I mean, you've been a really eloquent voice on this for people who hold the same position you do. And we see some movement in Pennsylvania. The Lincoln Project, as you can imagine, is keeping pretty close tabs on what's happening in the very important swing state of Pennsylvania. We see that Joe Biden is currently holding support from about 8.3% of Republican voters in your state. And in a block of voters that went heavily for Donald Trump in 2016, voters over the age of 65, Biden is leading that demographic 55 to 41 in your state. So we're seeing some significant shift in support for the president, whether it's because of people like you speaking out or just the American people coming to the same conclusion. What's happening in Pennsylvania and do you think that we're going to continue to see that sort of shift across the country in other states?
Well, it's clear to me that the senior vote is being very much affected by the president's, abysmal response on the COVID crisis. It's not to say the administration has done everything wrong, but the president's rhetoric and his behavior, with respect to treating this disease so cavalierly, has, I think, really offended and frightened and alarmed many of our seniors. I just have to talk to my 79-year-old mother-in-law, who, is very much afraid of this illness. And I think she's not atypical of a lot of other seniors who are very worried about getting ill. And the president just seems to be, flaunting, common sense and good judgment during this crisis. So I think that partly explains it. But to understand Pennsylvania, look at what happened in Pennsylvania since Trump was elected. 2017, 18, and 19 were catastrophic years for Republicans, particularly in suburban counties throughout the state. We were wiped out in municipal elections in 17 and 19, and of course in 2018 it was just the midterm that Republicans had underperformed terribly. So we've seen this, but in the suburbs especially, we've seen an acceleration of the erosion of support, and it's just gotten to the point now where I don't, in my wildest dreams, I don't know how Donald Trump's going to be able to pull another inside straight within Pennsylvania and try to win by 44,000 votes. There simply aren't enough voters in the rural areas to offset those losses in the suburban communities. And of course, Joe Biden is not Hillary Clinton. Joe Biden will perform better in areas where Hillary Clinton was defeated badly. Not to say that Joe Biden will win those areas, but he will certainly, cut down on those margins of Trump's victory in those regions of the state.
And it's nearly unheard of for Republicans to lose that 65 and older vote in many parts of the country. But let's talk a little bit. You mentioned the pandemic and COVID, so let's just talk about it a little bit more. In Pennsylvania, you're seeing a dangerous spike in cases of COVID. We know that you're at record high, 1,475 positive tests yesterday, and 23 lives lost per day on average right now in Pennsylvania, among a number of other metrics by which we see the increase, the way that the pandemic is hitting your state. And yet yesterday, the President of the United States was in Pennsylvania holding what can only be called a super spreader rally. I guess I continue to struggle both with how the president could believe that this in any way benefits him to do this, to continue to put people at risk, and then to see so many people who call themselves Republicans cramming in shoulder to shoulder at these rallies without a mask on. I feel like there's something at play here that is really outside of our typical political understanding of campaigns and candidates.
Well, if I wanted to self-sabotage my campaign, I would do exactly what the president is doing right now. In fact, I know he was up in Erie County this yesterday, and I just saw some numbers. Somebody shared with me some numbers in that congressional district. I think the president won that district by about 20 points last time, and this time he's only up by 10. So that should tell you something, that his margins are diminishing. Erie's an older. By the way, Erie County, where the president visited, in the northwest corner of the state, is one of 3 counties that Barack Obama won and Donald Trump. And I also happen to have represented one of the other counties, Northampton County. It was in the same boat. And I think Northampton County and Erie County can easily flip back to Joe Biden in this election.
Wow.
And so the other county, Luzerne County, the Wilkes-Barre area, that went for Trump, and that's going to stay Trump in this election.
That's fascinating. And I think, as we what people forget sometimes, it's you got to pick it apart county by county to really understand, where the votes are and where the shift is taking place. Charlie, you are just terrific. I appreciate not only the fact that you're here, but that you are willing to speak up about what is right when you feel the need to do so. I'm sure it explains why the people of Pennsylvania chose you to represent them for so long. Thanks very much for joining us at Vote for America.
Hey, thank you, Jennifer. Great to be with you.
Thank you, Charlie. Have a great day. So, Lisa, that's what's happening in Pennsylvania right now. And I love hearing Charlie talk, frankly, about politics to begin with, but I particularly love hearing him talk about his state. He knows it inside and out. And I do think that a lot of the shifts, when we look at the numbers that we're tracking here at the Lincoln Project, we're seeing similar shifts in a lot of the swing states right now.
Yeah, and one of the many things that Charlie said that was so interesting was that Pennsylvania started to see this shift happen in 2017. It happened in just state elections in 2017 and 19, but 2018 was terrible for Republicans in the state. The Trump campaign has had so much warning that this has happened. 2018 should have been an all hands on deck. We need to change what we're doing, not just how Trump was speaking, but we need to change what we're doing. because this is not speaking to the American people and what they want. And instead, they just double and triple down on the mistakes that they've been making. And as we keep saying, the cruelty that Trump has been showing. And, here they are 2 weeks out from the election, and things are not looking good in Pennsylvania and a whole lot of other swing states.
Right. Yeah, and I think what Charlie talked about, that 65 and over vote in Pennsylvania that has shifted significantly to Joe Biden. And he talked about the pandemic and the degree to which that has influenced voters in that age range, and I have to imagine also influencing their children and their grandchildren. When we look at politics strategically, when you're building a campaign, when you're and you build it out over the months leading up to the election day, you're always trying to find a thread that connects everything. It's like connecting the dots in your messaging. When you're running a campaign and you've got a candidate out there trying to make the case, it occurs to me, and maybe this is obvious and everyone figured this out a long time ago, the more you and I talk about the policies that this president advances, the manner in which he treats the American people with such disdain, so dismissive of the value of any person who is not just, a hanger-on to Donald Trump. His connecting thread is just cruelty. We've all spent so much time trying to get deep into his narcissism and his psychological, issues and his finances and his, connections with foreign dictators, all these things. But what connects it all, it really is just some really inexplicable satisfaction that he seems to get out of being able to be cruel and get away with it.
And fortunately, because we do live in the United States, we don't have to wait until an authoritarian leader decides he wants to step down. We get to do exactly what we're doing right now, which is people are out there voting. We already have more than 40 or almost 40 million people who have cast ballots across the country. And we've been asking at Vote for America for you all to send in your voter selfies and send them, tweet them to us at hashtag Vote for America selfie. We've been getting so many in, and they're really wonderful to see. It's been just overwhelming, the different types of people from across the country who have been sending those in to us. You can see a bunch of them here. We've had young and old and mothers and daughters going together, people being very responsible. Anybody you see without a mask has nobody else near them. It's just been very heartwarming to see. And some of them have been really inspiring. And I wanted to call one out in particular. This is Terry, who sent this selfie into us yesterday. Terry's a lifelong Republican in Florida. She has epilepsy, and she rode her e-trike a couple of miles to be able to vote in a COVID-safe way and make sure that her voice is being heard, and she got her vote in for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. So thank you so much, Terry, for going literally the extra mile to make sure that you got your vote in, and you really are an inspiration to the rest of us. We are going to pop out for a quick commercial break. When we come back, we have Adam Tracey with us, who is an expert bot hunter. I'm really excited to talk to Adam, so we will see you on the other side.
There's mourning in Pennsylvania. Today, hundreds of thousands of Americans have died from a deadly virus Donald Trump ignored, praising China's response instead of heeding the warnings, then blaming them to cover his own failures. With the economy in shambles, people across Pennsylvania are still out of work. One of the worst economies in decades. This afternoon, millions of Americans will apply for unemployment. And with their savings run out, many are giving up hope. Millions worry that a loved one won't survive COVID-19. There's mourning in Pennsylvania, and under the leadership of Donald Trump, our state is weaker and sicker and poorer. And now, Americans are asking, if we have another 4 years like this, will there even be an America?
Imagine a young girl looking in the mirror, searching for role models in the world to give her hope that one day she too can make a difference. Now imagine how she feels when she watches women being verbally attacked.
What a stupid question that is. But I watch you a lot. You ask a lot of stupid questions.
Maligned.
This monster that was on stage with Mike Pence, who destroyed her.
Belittled.
I'm not thinking, Mr.
That's
President.
okay. I know you're not thinking. You never do.
I'm sorry?
Insulted.
And I'd look her right in that fat, ugly face.
Your daughters are absorbing that message right in front of your eyes. Now imagine a different future for her. A future with a president who doesn't just value a female voice, but chooses one to be his right-hand woman. A strong woman with compassion, unafraid to take on a bully.
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking. I'm speaking.
Imagine that little girl in the mirror is yours, and your actions on November 3rd will define who she sees. Vote for her. The Lincoln Project is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Welcome back to LPTV and Vote for America. We are going to get started right away with our next guest. Adam Tracey is an expert bot hunter. He is going to educate us in what the bots are doing on Facebook and the damage that they can inflict. So welcome to the show, Adam. We're really happy to have you here. Yeah, absolutely. So I will admit to being a complete neophyte to botland. So I'm going to let you run with this. What is a bot, and what do we need to know about what they're doing?
So we all remember in 2016 that the U.S. intelligence agencies came to the conclusion that foreign actors, including to a great degree Russia, were using troll farms, actual people on computers that were employing bots and AI and algorithms to influence our election and post content that was misleading or outright lies, and got people thinking, not only should I only vote for this one person instead of the other, but should I even bother voting at all? It's all such a rigged system and I shouldn't even bother with it. So that has not only continued, it's ramped up. Countries like Russia, Saudi Arabia, North Korea, Turkey are all acting as foreign aggressors online, posting misleading content. They're using real footage, but they're putting it in a context or editing it in such a way that it's misleading, trying to get everyone to lose confidence in our democratic election system. So what we've done is sort of stumbled across this. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm an expert. I'm a concerned citizen, but I do enjoy hunting the trolls. What we've done is we figured out some of the patterns that they follow. And if you look at the patterns, there's 3 criteria actually that really help pick this out. If you look at the patterns, you can figure out whether a post on YouTube or on Facebook is a genuine concerned citizen saying, is this right? Is this true? Or a troll who's using bots to inflate these ideas and mislead Americans. Would you like me to walk you through an example?
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
Okay. I'm going to share my screen. Can you see my page?
Sure can.
Okay. So this is a YouTube page with a Trump video, and it's, shocking the crowd, exposing Kamala and Biden. Okay. What sticks out to us here is it was posted just today. I'm going to zoom in a little bit on this. It was just posted today on October 21st. It already has 179,000 views, but it already has 21,000 likes, but only about 650 dislikes. That seems pretty lopsided, even for a conservative news channel on YouTube. So that's a red flag right there. When it was first posted, it almost instantly got all of those likes. In addition to that, when it was first posted, I'm going to zoom out a little to go down to the comments. When it was first posted, it almost instantly got something like 2,400 comments. And that's what the Russian trolls and the Saudi Arabian trolls, that's what these troll farms do, is they use bots to automatically and quickly post thousands of comments. That pushes the video up in YouTube's algorithms. Oh, lots of people are commenting. We should really show this to more people. And it's all misleading. It's all fake comments. It's boilerplate comments that are being hundreds and hundreds of comments, thousands of comments that are just in a spreadsheet automatically popped up. And many of those comments also come with a couple thousand likes already, or a couple hundred likes, and a couple hundred replies in some cases. So what we've done is, we go to the page, you add a comment. I've already put a comment down below, but you just copy and paste a comment, calling this post out as a Russian troll farm post. It may be a North Korean, it may be Saudi Arabian, it may be someplace else, but everybody knows what Russian troll farm means these days. You post the comment,
right,
and I've got that comment posted down here already. If you see someone else has posted a comment like this, give it a like, give it a reply, say, I agree. If you want to reply, there's more text that you can add. And then you go up to these three dots. These three dots are called a kebab. They used to be called a hamburger because it was three lines that kind of resembled a hamburger, and now they look like a kebab. You open this up to report. When you report, you mark it as spam or misleading. You submark it as scams or fraud, and then go to the next screen. And I've got a little bit of boilerplate text for this too. Always provide some details. If you want to write your own, you can, but just foreign election interference meant to mislead Americans and discourage them from voting, cast out on the elections. Hit report, done. If you watch to the end of the video, or if you want to skip it like I do, I'd really rather watch how to make crispy hash browns. If you skip to the end of the video, it'll recommend a new video for you. Say, hey, you seem to like this stuff. Here's another one. And then here's another one. And then here's another one. Before you know it, you've spent 2 hours hunting trolls on YouTube, and you've reported dozens, if not a couple hundred videos, and you maybe have made a difference.
And how many people need to do what you've just explained on an individual post to make Facebook take note that this is being reported and do something about it? How much impact does an individual have, and what does a mass need to be to make it happen?
We've just started doing this a few weeks ago, and it's very, very grassroots. We don't have server farms and lots of scientists behind it right now, but it's every individual counts. The more you report it, the more comments you put up, the more people reply to your comment. It accumulates and it makes a difference. One person you might think doesn't quite make a difference, but if 5 people or 10 people report that same post and comment on that same post, then it starts to make a difference. What really gets intriguing is you post that comment, and we've found that a lot of the posters will reply to the comment, and their reply is almost always boilerplate 2 or 3 replies. Oh, you must be off your meds, old man, is my favorite. And they reply. That's your opportunity to get engaged. That's where you really go troll hunting. That's where you get the bow and arrow out, and you reply to them and say, you disagree? Okay, check it out. My name in my profile is my real name. Go to Facebook, look me up on Facebook, message me in a private message, and give me your phone number. I'd love to chat about this with you and have a conversation. They'll hem and they'll haw. Oh, I'm not going to get involved with a lib, or you're just a Biden fan. And the more they backpedal, the more they protest, then the more you know that they're not really a genuine American citizen concerned for our election, concerned for our country. We actually had a few weeks ago, one of the trolls slipped up. The username was a woman's name, so I'll refer to her as her. She slipped up and said, you know what? I don't have a U.S. area code. I don't have a U.S. phone number. Why don't you have a U.S. phone number? Where are you located? Well, my country code is 7. That's Russia. Oh, well, you know what? It's just one person. You can't beat all of us anyway. There's 15,000 of us. Bye. 15,000? Now, is that 15,000 just in Russia, 15,000 globally, or is that 15,000 just in that person's wing of a department of a group that's doing this globally?
Right. That could just be a well, we know it's a massive effort. It was a massive effort in 2016, and we certainly have to expect that things have been ramped up since then, and they've gotten better at it. But honestly, this sounds like so much fun. I could see very easily going down a rabbit hole of bot hunting for hours at a time. And but boy, if you're going to go down a rabbit hole, this is a good one to go down. And hopefully you're doing an awful lot of good at the same time. Any other bits of advice that you can give to folks out there who are interested in doing this and trying to enlist others, maybe friends and family, to get involved in this as well?
Well, the great thing about this is that it's successful no matter what, but it's levels of success. So level one of success is after this YouTube broadcast, hundreds, maybe thousands of people take this advice, go troll hunting for themselves, and they start making a difference. That's level one. Level two of success is they reach out to their friends and family and colleagues and former roommates from college and people who work in the media, people who work in government, and say, this is a thing and people are doing it. We should pay attention. That's level two of success. The word really gets out there. Level three of success is when hundreds of thousands of Americans are doing this, and the social media platforms themselves, YouTube, Facebook, they have no option but to pay attention and act on this. The PR is so bad for them that they have to do something. So get out and do something. America's, I'm sorry. Democracy is messy. It's complicated. It's complex, but it's ours. We've had it for over 200 years, and I think it's worth keeping. So let's fight for it. And maybe we can't get on a battlefield and fight directly against these folks for that, but we can get online and fight on that battlefield.
Yep. Democracy is not a spectator sport. We all have to be involved in it if we're going to be able to not just win this election, but be able to continue to have the democracy that we've had for a couple of centuries now. So thank you so much for everything that you're doing. I really appreciate it. It's a huge education, and it definitely sounds like a lot of fun. So thank you, Adam, for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And we do want to share this information one more time that Adam brought with us today. We have a graphic with those 3 items that he had mentioned on how to spot a Russian troll farm post. So look for that decrease in engagement after the initial cascade of interaction when it's first put up. Check and see if all the comments seem to be one-sided. And then after engaging with the person who posted, if they don't want to have any real-world interactions, that gives you a very good indication that they are bots. So that was fantastic, Jennifer. What an education!
I love it. I love it. I love it. That's everything that we're trying to do here, Lisa. Right there in that one little conversation with him. Inform people, give them the tools that they need to be effective. To learn and how to. I love it. And folks will be able to find that. We are definitely going to clip that down and make sure it's up on YouTube and a lot of other places so that people can find it in days and weeks ahead. Because long after this election is over, we're still going to be confronting the problem of foreign actors like Russia trying to influence our politics and trying to divide our people. I thought that was terrific, Lisa. That was great.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And you're right. The bots aren't going anywhere. It's up to us to get rid of them.
Exactly. Thank you so much for that. So we're going to move on to our next guest now. Another person who I hope is going to help really inform us and share her personal story at the same time. Ann Kupitz is a member of the Republican Voters Against Trump. You can learn more about them. They call themselves RVAT. You can find them at rvat.org. Ann has seen this presidency, unfortunately, destroy lifelong relationships and taken a real toll on the relationships that she has within her own family. And before we get to her, we just want to share a little bit of her story with you.
Hi, my name is Ann. I'm a registered Republican that will be voting for Joe Biden. I voted for Trump in 2016. I am in my 50s and my oldest sister is in her 70s. She and her family are diehard Trumpers. And my 27-year-old daughter called her aunt up to ask how she could be still voting for Trump. Does she not have all the information? My sister hung up on her, then proceeded to text me that she would probably never speak to my daughter again. I will probably never speak to my sister or her family again. That's how bad it is. And that really makes me very sad. If he wins in November, this country is destroyed.
And that's Ann Kupitz, and we're so happy to welcome her here to Vote for America today. Ann, thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a crazy time.
It's great to have you here. And it is a crazy time, and it's hard for people to stand up and share their story sometimes. So we're really grateful that you're willing to do that. So let's take kind of a step back from this, and sort of start at the beginning a little bit. At what point did you decide, even though you were a Republican, that you could not vote for Donald Trump? What was it that, what was your light bulb moment?
It was the Lafayette Square. I was just aghast that an American president would set American troops on American citizens peacefully protesting. I mean, the images of that still play in my mind. It's just hellish. That's what you would expect from a fascist dictator. It was amazing.
Yeah, and I think that's something that I think that's an experience a lot of Americans share with you. But in your family, you still have people that you love, that you care about, who are just passionately committed to the president. I guess I want to say it diplomatically, but it's really caused difficulty in relationships.
Yes, it has. Shortly after the Lafayette Square, my oldest sister, posted on her Facebook a little blurb about Trump is my president. He may not be smooth and blah, blah, blah. And it was filled with half-truths and total lies. And my daughter saw it. I don't go on Facebook that often, but my 27-year-old daughter saw it. And she posted a reply, and the ending of the reply said, if you think Trump cares for anyone but himself, you're delusional. And she put delusional in capital letters. And she said, I'm going to call you later today. Maybe you don't have all the facts. I mean, she was trying to give my sister the benefit of the doubt. I mean, they say that most Trump supporters are uneducated white males. That does not fit my family. I mean, they're all college educated, but I think what's going on with them is they live in Northern Illinois, which they live in the middle of what we call marshmallow land. I don't think they know any people of color, and I think they're scared, and Trump plays to that. And when my daughter called my sister called her an entitled millennial witch, only not witch, then hung up on her, then texted me and pulled me into it, which I had no idea this was even going on. After the dust settled, I sent my sister a long email, and I had attached the admiral and the general's opinions that were printed right after Lafayette Square. And I also ended up, I waited because that was in June, and my sister, her birthday was July 2nd, and I sent her a music box with the Serenity Prayer on it. And I said, I hope you have the wisdom to see how evil Trump is and the courage to vote against him and for America. And then when I called her for her birthday, which I'm 59, I mean, she's my oldest sister. I've known her my entire life. She would not take my call. I have not spoken to my sister since June. And that just really rips me apart. And the sad thing is,
and I can't imagine.
Yeah. When I did that RVAT video, I didn't do it expecting anybody to really see it. I did it for me, just as a catharsis of sorts. And it's blown my mind how it's resonating with people. I mean, people throughout the country are getting their families ripped apart. One woman, I think the saddest comment I saw was one woman, her son is a Trump supporter. He has not let her see her grandchildren for over 2 years. I mean, I can't even imagine. I can't see my grandchild now because of COVID, but, and then there were, let's see,
Right.
2 engagement breakups, a divorce. I mean, he's ripping our country apart in such a manner that hasn't happened since the Civil War.
And like I said earlier, I think this is something that so many families across the country are experiencing right now. You know, if you could say one thing to the people watching right now, good people, love their families, love their country, and they're just kind of in that undecided, they're pulled in both directions. What would be the one thing that you would say to them right now, Ann?
Vote for a man of integrity with character that doesn't lie. That's what I would say. You know, policies aside,
That's it.
This isn't
Mm-hmm.
Democratic versus Republican. This is good versus evil. This is, you know, he is breaking so many norms. It only took Germany a little over 10 years to go from a democracy to Hitler. And we are heading down a bad road.
And thank you so much for that. You hit the nail on the head. Vote for a good, decent man who's not going to lie to the American people. Thank you so much, Ann Kupitz. She is from the Republican Voters Against Trump, and you can find them at rvet.org. Ann, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
So, Lisa, God bless America. Absolutely. Lisa, I got to tell you, this is the most discouraging thing that I hear, and that I'm sure you hear these stories as well. Families that are genuinely torn apart over this. And, you know, there's always a part of me that wonders, how do they let this happen? But it is so fed by the leader of the free world. It's, you know, the question really is, how do you overcome it when it's the president of the United States who's feeding it and literally going out there on the stage at his rallies, practically telling people, if they don't, you know, if the people in your family don't love me, cut them out of your life.
Yeah, I was listening to Ann talk and realizing that we have this theme of loss that we keep talking about. We're not really naming it. Mm-hmm. Between COVID, the actual loss of life, the loss of our ability to be together, and now we're heading into the holidays, and that's going to be so painful for so many people. Because we can't be together, but also because of situations like Ann, where even if COVID didn't exist at this point, her family couldn't be together. Trump has really ripped the fabric of this nation apart. I don't think it's completely torn. I think there are enough threads there that if we elect Joe Biden, we can start repairing it. We can mend the damage that's been done, but it's going to take, this is not going to happen overnight. This much damage didn't happen overnight, and it's going to take all of us working together for a long time in the future to put it all back together again. But Joe Biden's a good start.
Yeah, and that's I think the thread between all this is that the president just doesn't care. He doesn't care. If it feeds his ego, if it feeds his political ambitions, he doesn't care who it hurts or how it hurts them. So we're going to be coming back in just a few moments. But before that, we're really happy to be able to bring you this from the Lincoln Project.
You think you know Joe Biden. You've heard about his 36 years in the U.S. Senate, his 8 years as Barack Obama's vice president. You know he's got a sense of humor, and like all of us, makes the occasional gaffe. You know him as a guy who never forgot his humble blue-collar beginnings in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and of his years commuting every day from home in Delaware to his job in Washington. But you might not know the story of Joe as a father. In 1972, 30-year-old Joe Biden lost his beloved wife and 15-month-old daughter Nellie in a horrific car crash. The same tragic accident badly injured his 2 young boys. Confronted with this crushing loss, Joe Biden became a single father. His children tell his story more poignantly than we can.
As a single parent, he decided to be there, to put us to bed, to be there when we woke up from a bad dream, to make us breakfast. So he traveled to and from Washington 4 hours a day.
When the boys cried for their mother and sister, it was Joe who comforted them and dried their tears. When their knees were skinned and bloodied, it was Joe who cleaned and bandaged them. Parent-teacher conferences, Joe was there. When help was needed with homework and report cards were read, Joe Biden was there. Because when Joe Biden makes a commitment, he always sees it through. In 1977, Joe Biden met his wife Jill, and together they would raise the 2 boys and a sister, Ashley. And when his son Beau died of brain cancer in 2015 at the age of 46, Joe Biden was at his side. Shaped by both tragedy and love, Joe Biden's public service is defined by compassion for others. He knows the pain American families experience and works every day to make their lives better, because that is the father he is. When it comes down to it, you know one thing above all else about Joe Biden. He is a good man, a decent man, and a father before all else. Americans will choose between 2 types of men this November. We know the man Joe Biden is. He's a man with character, compassion, and decency. It's a choice to vote for a man with that kind of character, or a man without one.
The Lincoln Project is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Welcome back again to LPTV and Vote for America. You all have been so wonderful about getting us your questions and concerns, and so we want to take some time right now to share some of those. The first one we have coming up today is a voicemail from Nancy in Minnesota.
Hello, my name is Nancy. I'm in St. Paul, Minnesota. I've always considered myself independent, lean more toward Republican. The burning question that I have is trying to understand the Electoral College and how even if Biden wins by millions and millions of votes, how somehow the Electoral College could still elect Trump. How do we get rid of the Electoral College? How do we make sure that it's not corrupt?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and handle the first part of that question and talk about how the Electoral College works and why it is that you can win the popular vote and still not win the Electoral College. All the states have a certain number of electors, and in most states, it's winner take all. So if you win by 10 million votes or you win by 15 votes in a particular state, you're still going to get the same number of electors. But you could end up having a massive number of votes in the popular vote. So it really, that's why we spend so much time talking about the swing states. Those are the states that are going to tip the Electoral College one way or another, and why it is so important that everybody, especially in the swing states, but everywhere across the country, be getting out there and casting your ballot, mailing that mail-in ballot that you might have taking up space on your countertop. Get it get it in the mailbox or drop it off at one of the secure locations. And please make sure your vote is being counted. And if you are voting in person on November 3rd, make a plan to get there. Make sure that you do it. We've got to make sure this is a decisive win, both in the popular vote and the Electoral College for Joe Biden. Jennifer?
I think you covered it, Lisa. That was great. That was great. I think you nailed it.
I love geeking out on the Electoral College. We can do a whole show weeks and weeks from now on that.
When this is all over, right?
Yes,
Right.
when this is all over and Joe Biden is sworn in as president, then we can spend time talking more about the Electoral College. Let's go ahead with our email. This is from Maureen, and Maureen asks, what's the impact of aggressive and unchecked voter suppression and count obstruction? Is there any way to project the real impact of this vote shaving, or does it just come down to real-time wait and see? Jennifer?
Aggressive, I was having trouble reading that from here. Aggressive, unchecked voter suppression. Is that what the question was about?
Yes. Yep.
And count obstruction. Boy, I hope I caught that one right. I'm sorry that I missed out on it somehow. But so from the voter suppression idea, trying to obstruct people from voting. If that's what the question was. The first thing that I say is CSA 2020, right? Go to CSA2020.com and you can learn there how you can report anything that you see yourself and be part of that important process. The impact of voter suppression can be significant in the outcome of our elections when it goes unchecked. So I think what's really important is that the same way that we're seeing this intensity to vote, that people are so engaged with record turnout, record voting, record absentee ballots being cast. I think we're also seeing a renewed intensity and education on voter suppression in this election, in this cycle. So many people are keyed into it, in part because the Republicans are engaging in it in such a public, unapologetic manner that you can't miss it. But this is one of those cases where we, the people, can have an impact. If you see it, go to CSA 2020 and report it. It's just like the Waze traffic app. It will be responded to in real time. But beyond that, you can also call your Secretary of State's office. You can call your local police department, depending on what kind of obstruction you're talking about. I hope that answers the question. Somehow you cut out on me when you were reading that one, so I just sort of missed it.
You absolutely nailed it. That was exactly
good. Great.
What the question was. So no worries on it. We are going to do one more question for today, and this is a question that comes from Facebook from Heather in West Virginia. Is there a fund to donate food to voters waiting in long poll lines? I love this question. This is such a thoughtful question. It's such a caring question. It's nice to see that fellow Americans are concerned about the lines that so many people are staying in. And the answer is yes. There are, we have 3 different organizations to share with you that are nonprofit, nonpartisan. There is Pizza to the Polls. They've already been helping out at 313 poll locations in 31 states. They've delivered almost 4,000 pizzas already. World Central Kitchen, who we've featured before, they're doing poll meals, and they're also doing meals and meal boxes for hungry folks. They've been setting up in cities around the country where people are going hungry because of the pandemic, and they've been providing food. And then the final one is Feed the Poll. They are offering free healthy meals to people waiting in lines. So yes, those are 3 different places, Pizza to the Polls, World Central Kitchen, and Feed the Poll. You can go to any of their websites and make donations there to support the really wonderful work that they're doing.
That's fantastic, Lisa. I love it. And I really love all the stories that we hear about individuals who on their own even are reaching out to try to help people. Whether it's we've heard stories about people bringing food to the polls, bringing chairs to the polls, helping their neighbors get there. I love it. I love how people are connecting over this election.
Yeah, it's one of those nice reminders that there's so many good people out there trying to do good things. We hear a lot of the negative stories, but America's a place filled with wonderful people. So I love that question. We have a few reminders for you as we get close to wrapping up the show. The first is voter registration deadlines. Those are coming up in a lot of states. So we have 3 here today for you, but please make sure you are checking on your registration deadline in your state and make sure that you are registered. There are in-person early voting states that have begun their early voting. West Virginia is today and New York is on Friday. So please, if you are planning on doing early in-person voting, get out there and take advantage of those opening. If you need information on this, you can go to NCSL, S as in Sam, L.org, and you can get information about what type of voting is happening in your state and your registration deadlines. And we're going to keep bringing you more information on how to spot a bot. And that I think is going to be a lot of fun. I encourage people to get out there and become bot hunters.
Training an army of bot hunters. I love it.
That's
Lisa,
right.
Thank you so much for being here. And as always, for bringing us all of this very important information.
Thank you very much. I love being here. I'm excited to be back here tomorrow, where our new time is 2:30 Eastern. So please come back and join us again tomorrow. We're going to have Fred Wellman and Rachel Vindman on the show to talk about Trump's treatment of active duty military and our veterans, and how he has so egregiously failed both. So we hope you'll join us. We're looking forward to seeing you again tomorrow.
So, and I want to thank our guest today, Congressman Charlie Dent, Ann Kupitz from Republican Voters Against Trump, and of Adam Tracey, the great, magnificent bot hunter. So glad to have them all with us. But of course, as always, I want to thank all of you for being with us today as well. It is just so important that we continue to have these conversations, that we continue to learn the best ways that we can be effective at making our voices heard. But also, I just wanted, I think we can't get to the end of the show and not talk about something that Lisa said just a little while ago. And that is all of these things that we talk about, how they are woven together by a sense of loss, that our country is bearing the burden, the pain, the difficulty of the loss that this president has inflicted on us, whether it's being separated from your grandchildren because of COVID, whether it's losing a loved one because of COVID, losing those relationships in our families, that connectedness in our communities. It doesn't have to be this way. And I try to always remember what is the optimistic side of what we're talking about. What is the positive? The positive is it doesn't have to be this way. And the really positive part of it is it's in our hands. We can turn the tide. We can make a better day for the future of our country, all of us here today, by standing together on Election Day and doing, as Ann Kupitz said, vote for the man who is decent, who is honest, who cares about the American people. Vote for Joe Biden. We have the ability in our hands to make a better tomorrow for our children. That's what this show is all about. We're so happy that you joined us. And I look forward to seeing you back here on LPTV tomorrow. Thank you.
This is America, and it's hurting. Right now, we're getting knocked down by the very people who should be lifting us up. Our families and our neighbors are sick, and we're being lied to. They want to scare us into believing it has to be this way. It doesn't. In the past, when change was needed, we've stepped up. Now, it's time to step up again. This moment is not about Democrat or Republican. It's about being on the right side of history. We must set aside our differences, stand together, united, and ask, what can I do to help? It's time to put people ahead of politics, to put country over party. It's time to vote for America.
the thing is about leadership, some of the most important and most consequential decisions that a leader makes are the decisions they make when the rest of us can't see them, particularly a president. The most weighty decisions that a president makes are those where we don't all get to eavesdrop and listen in. Maybe the health of the nation is at stake, or the safety of the nation is at stake. And then what we have to be able to count on is their character. Are they going to have us in mind, not them? Because leaders serve. And if you don't have character, you only care about yourself. You don't care about those you're supposed to be serving. Will they have honesty and integrity? So that's why character is so important. John McCain, I didn't agree with him on absolutely everything. But the reason he survived and endured 5.5 years in a prisoner of war camp in Vietnam is because he had character. He knew what he was fighting for. He knew who he was. And nothing and no one was going to take that away from him. And I see that same set of qualities in Joe Biden. And by the way, I believe it is why John McCain and Joe Biden were such good friends, because they recognized that about each other.
Cynthia in Bellingham in Washington. The stock market is not the economy. Its value is mostly made up of the top 50 corporations. Main Street is full of close signs. And the evictions and bankruptcies are just beginning. Joe Biden has been successful at inheriting another Republican recession. Vote Joe Biden. Save America.